Welcome to the Introduction to Working Environment and Safety. This video will give you basic information on the working environment and safety at the Department of Civil Engineering. In Denmark, we follow the Working Environment Act, which is a framework that authorizes the Danish Minister of Employment to issue guidelines for the working environment. Usually the guidelines are set in collaboration with the labour market parties. The Act is specified in executive orders which feature regulations. Further guidelines from the Danish Working Environment Authority specify how companies may comply with the legislation of the Act and executive orders. Find more information on the working environment at DTU on our online portal. The marked page menu shows where you find overall information on the working environment. At the Department of Civil Engineering, working environment and responsibility goes hand in hand. Regardless of the formal legislation, everybody is expected to take joint responsibility for their own and others' well-being, as well as to find solutions for any problems that might occur. We have a local commitment with management working for a collaboration involving staff and students. Everyone must contribute so that the working conditions are completely sound in their work and that the measures taken work as intended. If you become aware of faults or errors that may reduce safety or health come to your attention and you cannot fix them yourself, this must be reported immediately to a relevant member of the Working Environment Group, the Working Environment Coordinator or the Head of Department. If minor faults or imperfections come to the attention of the Head of Section, this must be brought up at the next section meeting. In case of repair or installations which involve temporarily removing safety arrangements, these arrangements must be restored immediately after finishing the work, or similar precautions of at least the same level of safety must be implemented. Employees and students can find more information on the working environment in the department on DTU Inside. Here you will find the safety manual outlining overall information on the safety and working environment at the DTU Civil Engineering. A working environment plan is drawn up yearly with targets for the environment at DTU Civil Engineering, as well as minutes from the Working Environment Committee. The Working Environment Committee is the chairman, who is also the head of department. He has the overall responsibility for the working environment at DTU Civil Engineering. The Working Environment Coordinator is the chairman's right-hand woman. She handles administrative tasks. The Working Environment Group for Office manage the field of office and ergonomics. The Group of Workshop and Test Facilities attend to working environments at the workshop and test facilities. The Group of Laboratories manages the chemical laboratories. Additionally, 2 students contribute and attend the dialogue on students' conditions. At DTU Civil Engineering, we must comply with working environment and safety concerns in our daily work, such as different chemicals, Gas and ATEX Directive, radiation from special installations, ergonomics within the department, fine particles at laboratories and concrete lab, well-being in the department, engine safety at workshop and test facilities. Safety Introduction. This is the list of subjects of the following slides in this presentation. The slides will give information on safety at laboratories, the workshop, and in the test facilities. In case of accidents, you must be prepared. Therefore, contingency plans are outlined near all entrances and on all floors. Follow the plans in case of evacuation. Fire equipment is available in the halls of laboratories, workshops, and test facilities. First aid kits are placed near the reception, in laboratories, at the workshop and test facilities. The defibrillator can be found at the entrance in Building 118 and in Building 119 in the middle of the test facilities. Accidents at work as well as near-miss accidents must be reported to the Working Environment Representative or Coordinator within 7 days. Safety in practice. DTU handles many chemicals, therefore DTU has created the database of chemicals, www.chemibrew.dk, in cooperation with Copenhagen University. In the database you will find all chemicals registered at DTU. You will find instructions for use of chemicals in Danish and English. Furthermore, the database gives access to print out CLP labels. To get full access to Chemibrew, use a computer at DTU and log in with your DTU login. Please use chemibrew.dk whenever you work with chemicals. The chemicals are stored in chemical cabinets in the laboratories. Toxic chemicals are locked up in the laboratories. Glue, paint, etc. are placed in cabinets with suction hood in the test facilities and glue spaces. Always remember that chemibrew.dk will give you the information you need on handling chemicals, products and gas. The purpose of risk assessment is to consider the work in question thoroughly with regards to safety and avoidance of accidents. One has several ways to make risk assessments and should make sure to evaluate risk in ways suitable for the purpose. The student or employee downloads the formula and goes over the process with a supervisor. Next, the student or employee fills out the risk assessment in collaboration with the relevant technician or supervisor. After that, the supervisor must approve and sign the risk assessment. The approved risk assessment should then be emailed as a PDF file to the assigned email address, and the file will then be saved in doc on the server. The risk assessment must always be available for you to show on request. No risk assessment means no working in the laboratories, neither at the workshop nor in the test facilities. In connection with any practical work process in laboratory, workshop or field, this formula must be filled out. You can find the formula here. Another formula is the chemical risk assessment. When it comes to this formula, it is important to gather information on the chemicals used in the test, work or process. You can find the formula here. Use personal protective equipment to protect yourself during work processes. Use glasses when you risk getting something in your eyes. Use a laboratory coat or workwear when risking contaminating your clothes to avoid spreading the contamination. Use suitable gloves depending on the work. Choose, for instance, disposable or work gloves. Safety helmets must be worn during work if there's any risk of getting hit on your head. Safety shoes or boots should be used if there's a risk of crushing your feet or stepping on sharp items. In case of unavoidable noise, you must wear earmuffs or plugs, even for shorter periods of work. Masks or respirators should be used when the work cannot be conducted in fume cupboards. In some instances, both masks and suction hoods will be necessary. It is customary to be attentive and to take good care of yourself and others. Therefore, please wash your hands after finishing work and before leaving the laboratory. Use a laboratory coat or workwear to avoid contamination. Do not eat or drink in the laboratory. Use gloves around chemicals and dispose of them immediately after use. Be aware that it can be unhealthy for your hands to wear gloves all day. Avoid touching eyes and mouth. Coats and bags are not allowed in the laboratory. Instead, use the locker rooms. It is important to keep the laboratory clean. Therefore, please clean up after finishing work. Wipe the scale after use. Rinse the dishes and load the dishwasher. If in doubt, ask a laboratory technician. Samples must be labelled or thrown away. Please store the labelled samples in boxes handed to you by a laboratory technician. Chemical waste is disposed of in assigned waste dunks or open-head drums. Borrowed equipment must be returned in the same condition. It is important to clean up after using the workshop and test facilities. Samples must be labelled with the assigned notes you find at the test facilities. Samples for storage must be labelled and stored in assigned areas. Tools from the portable tool table must be returned as soon as possible, or during the workday. Please return borrowed toolkits as kits. If you lose or damage tools, contact a technician and he will take care of this. In the concrete lab, it is important to comply with the following regulations. Always use the reservation book. Use suitable protective equipment. Use local exhaust ventilation during weighing and mulling. Clean after finishing work. Wipe the scale and table with damp cloth after use. Clean equipment thoroughly and use mold oil where suitable. Note that sweeping is not allowed. Instead, use vacuum cleaner or hose down the floor with water. Waste management. Do not pour chemicals in the wash basin. Leave chemical waste in assigned canisters or open-head drums. Leave glue and epoxy in assigned open-head drums. Concrete and mortar is disposed of in containers in the concrete lab and test facilities. The waste responsible draw up instructions for disposal of hazardous waste. Campus service gathers the waste and ensures it is destroyed. Borrowing and training. At the workshops and in the test facilities, you will find several machines. Some require training, others are easy to handle. Hand tools require no training, but do not forget these too can pose a risk. When operating engines, you must attend general training given by the responsible technician. Some engines require authorized permission or courses before use. Crane operation requires authorized permission after completed training or course. Our forklift truck and powered stacker can only be operated by users with authorized certificate. Overall, the technician decides what equipment you get permission to use. The permission depends on your general behavior in regards of safety. Most experimental equipment may be borrowed with no instruction, but some equipment does require training. Therefore, always contact a supervisor or technician before use of experimental equipment. Laboratory equipment is handled by the laboratory technicians. Some equipment may be used by others who have attended suitable training. It is important always to contact the laboratory technician before the use of equipment. The log must always be completed. Regulations for working alone. When students work alone, they must comply with the following. First of all, a supervisor or technician must be present at all times. The supervisor may give permission for the student to work on machines or similar on his own, if at least 2 persons are present and the 2 of them have agreed to stay as backup. In case of low-risk work, such as the reading of instruments, the supervisor may give permission for the student to work by himself. In that case, the student must at all times carry a phone and an agreement on backup must be made. It is important to notify the relevant technician about the agreement before beginning the work. In case of exceptions to the above mentioned, agreements must be made between the supervisor and the head of the laboratory. As a rule, DTU Civil Engineering forbids any working alone in workshops and laboratories that involve the risk of injuries. If you must work by yourself, it is important that you agree on supervision with a colleague. The supervision may be in person or by phone. In any case, the supervising colleague must be physically within reach of 15 minutes in case of accidents. If in doubt whether a particular work task is covered by the above mentioned, please contact the relevant project manager, who may contact the Working Environment representative. In special cases, the Working Environment Committee will force a decision. To work in our laboratories, workshop or test facilities, it is required that you pass our test. Find the test here. Good luck.